Martin joins us today. He is a Central Coast-based member of the Legislative Council, which is the upper house of the New South Wales Government. Welcome, Taylor.
Thanks,
Thank
Jackie.
you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Are you one of the youngest MLCs in the state?
Yes, by far I'm the
By
youngest
far.
currently, and in the history of the New South Wales Parliament, the second youngest ever,
Wow.
only beaten by a fellow from the ALP who in the 70s made it into the upper house.
So
I believe he was a
how-
few weeks younger than I was when I was sworn in.
What made you do it? I know there was a vacancy because MLC Gallagher retired. So how did you get the job?
Yep, so look, I'd have to go back to the start when I became involved in politics, which is I was commuting to and from the coast into Sydney every day. I'd met Lucy Wicks, she was our candidate here in 2012, 2013. Met her at the train station. As I said, I was commuting every day, had a chat to her on the station, said I'd like to help you, got involved. From then on, I was involved in politics while working in Sydney still. Made the switch, full-time politics, and then Mike quit. Mike resigned.
Yep.
And there were about 8 or 9 of us that put our hand up
Wow.
for pre-selection, a
That's
short
tough.
3-week casual vacancy, and I came away the winner. Was sworn in May last year.
So what's it like in the Legislative Council, being the youngest? Do you get a lot of, mentoring and advice, or are you like the young tradie who has to go to the wrong end of the shop and get what they want that doesn't exist? You know, are you the rookie or?
No, look, it's been great, and there are plenty of people in there who are very helpful from both sides, to be honest.
Yeah.
All sides, the crossbench as well. That is the difference in the upper house. We are the House of Review. We spend a lot of time on committees. We travel the state looking at different issues, and to be frank, we spend a lot of time on issues that don't get a lot of coverage and are quite bipartisan, and we work together to get to the bottom of things.
Okay. Now, one of the issues that you haven't actually worked on, as far as I know, in Parliament, but you have been actively working on locally, is asbestos. And I wanted to talk to you about that first.
Okay.
Are you satisfied that the local council and the EPA are on top of the situation from Wamberal all the way around to the Haven?
No, not at all, to be frank.
Right.
Today's Thursday. On Tuesday I was at Wamberal, there's exposed asbestos. On Sunday I was on surf patrol at Terrigal Beach and found a piece of asbestos 10 metres away from the flags. It's not good enough.
So this has been going on now since 2016. Why won't anyone just clean it up?
That's a matter for the council.
And have you talked directly to the council,
Yeah.
councillors or council staff about this?
Yep, all of the above. And it's a legacy issue, I understand that.
Yeah.
Everyone understands that. But that's an opportunity for the current council to get stuck in and get it fixed. It's just the answers we've gotten so far are not good enough. Whether it's on public property or
Yeah,
private
that was my
property,
next question.
it's the council or the entity that need to go and fix it. I mean, Jackie, if there were pieces of exposed, broken, dry asbestos, 1 metre away from a
the
footpath,
flags
from
the flags at Manly,
yeah,
dare I
exactly.
say.
But if it was 1 metre away from your driveway, from your footpath, and it was on your front yard, the council rangers would make sure you cleaned it up.
Absolutely.
Why is it any different if it's in someone's backyard that backs onto a sand dune? I mean, in one of my visits down to Wamberal Beach, I met a couple very young kids, and their mother was there.
These were the kids who took it home and drew on the footpath with it.
That's right. On that day, I found a piece myself, and I asked these kids who were picking up shells and seaweed and whatnot if they'd found any tiles, and they said not today, but yesterday we did. And I spoke to their mother. Sure enough, the young girl took it home and used it herself
Now
as chalk.
the EPA, I understand that the EPA receives a complaint, takes it to council, council says yes, we're on top of it,
Yeah.
the EPA gives it a tick. But surely the EPA has the powers to do more than it has done.
Possibly, but council are the local entity. This is the thing, and to get to a much greater issue, this is the problem here on the Central Coast, and this is why the old council had to go. I mean, for too long, coasties have accepted a council that don't do their own job, and for too long, people say, well, why can't the state government just come in and pick up, the slack? Well, it's not good enough. We've got a great big entity called the Central Coast Council.
It is a big entity.
They have a great opportunity now to fix some legacy issues and get an organisation that works. And I'm glad that there are some people on there. There are a lot of people in the staff I know doing a great job. and they just need the backing of the management and of the councillors.
Governors.
Yeah.
So what did you do with the asbestos that you've recently found?
So I've reported that in, but
Right.
that's the way it is. There's signage on the beach now to call a landline number into council, and that's
Okay.
good. That signage is new.
Right, yeah.
But unfortunately, the source of it is there in
Yeah.
Wamberal. It's still exposed. Unfortunately, we haven't had any big East Coast lows which would come and wash it back into the water.
Right, well, that's bound to happen.
It is. It's there and it's exposed.
So are you campaigning? Are you talking to people? I know Julie Pillen is banging her head up against a brick wall. Are we, the public, just supposed to keep accepting that there's going to be asbestos washing up on our beach?
I don't believe we should, and that's why I'm being quite vocal about it. I don't want to be, you know. As we started, I'm in the upper house. I don't need a lot of media. I
Yeah.
like my committee work. I like to do,
Yep.
you know, the work that we do. Unfortunately, this is one issue which needs a lot of attention because it seems like council will not just go out there and pick it up.
All right, let's talk about your committee work then, because one of the committees that you've been involved with that has had quite a bit of media coverage is the Energy from Waste inquiry. And early on, its terms of reference were expanded to include looking at the Mangrove Mountain landfill. You spoke in Parliament and you went out on a limb and backed an inquiry. How did you feel when Minister Upton didn't adopt recommendation 27?
Yeah, so what I'd like to see is documentation, an independent inquiry, to then document what happened from start to finish, from go to woe. Because at the start of this whole process, going back, we had a golf course that wanted to do some landscaping, and they were allowed to use some building waste, hard building waste, to infill valleys.
Can I take you back to before that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know, I usually don't express my opinions about these issues because I'm the community journalist and it's my job to report the facts. But I used to try to play golf up there in the late 1990s, and it was pristine bush.
Yeah.
And when I went back up there, when I started here, and saw that it was literally a mountain of rubbish, it was shock and awe.
Yeah.
You know, I still feel it now.
Yeah.
Because it's a travesty.
Yeah.
But even before I was playing golf up there, a returned serviceman, a veteran, bequested that land to the public. And, you know, when the RSL, the New South Wales RSL inquiry started, I know there were community members up there who expected that would look at the land transaction and how the whole of that site, including the Memorial Club, ended up in the hands of a major waste industry player.
Yeah.
Have you had a cup of tea with Margaret Pontifex and been taken back through the whole history?
I've spoken with the locals up there in Mangrove Mountain.
Right.
Yep. And look, I'm on their side in terms of, as I was saying, we started with a golf course.
Yeah.
We've now ended with no golf course and a whole heap of waste, which has been inappropriately managed.
Yeah.
And no one can get the real story of what happened in between. Right?
So why won't your government agree to an independent inquiry?
Well, we'll see. I'm happy to keep pushing, and I know the voices there to keep pushing, whether it's the government or whether it's the council. I mean, we must remember they were the ones that approved it from the start.
Yes.
So there is a committee in council to look into it, and that comes back to the point I made earlier, which is this was a process that was kicked off by the council, and now we have
Council.
That's right, Gosford Council.
Yep.
Now,
So it's another legacy issue.
it's another legacy issue which people have got no confidence in the council to fix. So they're looking at the state government to just
They
come in and pick
also
up the
don't
slack.
have a lot of confidence in the EPA. You've got parallel things happening with Mangrove Mountain landfill. You've got the planning consent, the development consent, which is council's responsibility, and then you've got the environmental protection licence, which is the EPA's responsibility. And up until very recently, the EPA's public line, at least, was that there was no risk, no problem.
Yeah.
So,
but in any case, there's no documented history of how did we get here.
oh, there is Taylor.
But not a central source. Do you see what I
No,
mean? So
that's
this is why
the
I'm asking
point.
for an inquiry where
There's-
someone can come in the middle and say, this is what happened, this is what went wrong.
Okay.
and if there's anything that needs further inquiry. Because we do have, as I said, locals up on the mountain that I've met with, Gary Chestnut, Stephen Goodman, who've put the documents together themselves.
Absolutely.
But it needs to be comprehensive and done, to be frank, with authority.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so have you spoken to Minister Upton about that?
Yep.
And what's her position?
Well, look, I'm sure we'll find out more. down the
Okay.
track.
And would you go as far as speaking to the Premier?
Oh, I'm happy to, yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Minister Upton said her reason for not wanting to adopt that recommendation right now was the Land and Environment Court action.
That's right, yeah.
Does she understand, and do you understand, that that LEC action is only about an appeal for amendments to the Environmental Protection Licence?
So you would have to ask the Minister herself.
Right.
If,
Do
what,
you
for what she
understand that, though?
understands. I do, and I understand it's a very complex issue, and that's why I'm asking for a central source, someone with authority and with experience to come in and document it from start to finish and make recommendations and get all the facts in one place.
Okay.
We have a lot of pieces of this puzzle. Someone needs to put them together.
Okay. All right. On a
Thanks,
lighter note, at the press conference hailing the introduction
Yeah.
of the new Gosford Local Environmental Plan and Development Control Plan, you said you wanted to see more YIMBYs and less NIMBYs.
That's right.
So what's your definition of YIMBY, and when do you reckon it'll be in the Macquarie Dictionary?
Oh, I'm not sure if it will or when it will, but for too long we've seen the NIMBYs. People saying no in my backyard. We need to start seeing and hearing from people, particularly of my generation, who want to be YIMBYs, and they're saying yes in my backyard. They want more places to live. They want more places to work, and that's what we need to see a shift in, especially here in Gosford, here on the Central Coast, because too many. I'm one of 5 siblings. I'm the last left on the Central Coast.
Wow.
And
okay. Are you the youngest, or where are you in the pecking order?
Second youngest.
Okay.
But too many people are born here, go to school here, and then leave for work, or, to be frank, to be able to afford somewhere to live. And it's a real shame, because we have a great place, we have a great community, we have a great society here on the coast, and we should allow for people to be able to stay and work and have their own family here.
Now, the other thing that I did want to touch on is that you've spoken openly, particularly I think in one of your earliest parliamentary speeches, about bullying that you were subject to as a child.
Yeah.
And ended up at Central Coast Grammar School,
That's
is
right.
that correct?
Yeah.
Have you ever come across that bully in your
No,
role now?
no, I haven't.
How would you feel if you did? What would you do? Shake their hand?
Yeah,
or?
yeah, and that was a big part of my teenage years, of working through why these things happen to particular students, and it seems to be getting worse with the advent of social media. I must say, because it doesn't stop when you leave, when the school bells ring and you go home. Even when I was at school, social media wasn't as prevalent as it is now, and we hear more and more about youth suicide off the back of different social media cyberbullying instances. And I think it comes back to respect. It comes back to understanding people with different backgrounds and different needs. And so definitely, to your point, that shaped my teenage years, and it shaped how I view the world today.
Is it something that you've been able to work on as a project, or not personally, but the issue? Is that something that you're interested in exploring? Because not all kids are in a position. If you're in a country high school, there's not another school down the road. So, is there something systemically that can be done, do you think?
I hope so, and I think so, and I think a lot of that might come back to our curriculum, and we're undergoing a curriculum review at the moment. But I particularly remember fondly my time at Terrigal Primary School. We had a philosophy class, and they taught us, about respect and people with different backgrounds, different needs, and I think that helped shape how students viewed each other and how to treat each other. And I do think that there needs to be more life skills taught in school. So whether it is about those things I just mentioned, or whether it is about, real hard skills about doing your taxes, or paying bills and job interviews, and that, the kind of skills that you will need after leaving school, and not just subject matter.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for Taylor Martin? You have to be pre-selected, or how does it work in New South Wales? Are you standing for a re-election in March like everyone else? Or
Yes, so as we said at the start of this interview, I replaced Mike Gallagher when he resigned, which gave me to the end of this parliament in that seat. I'll be up again for election, so we'll see how it goes.
Right, thank you so much for joining us, Taylor.
Oh, thank you, Jackie.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.